What is up, Thrivesters? I'm back with I think this is going to be a quickie episode. This is meant to be a quickie episode. And let me tell you why. So I had a very cool episode planned and I'm going to air that next week. And it's going to be about your personal board of directors. We talk about that quite a bit in the book. By the way, if you're new and you're not sure what I'm talking about, so this podcast used to be called Unmute Yourself, the podcast. Oh, look, I'm even on brand. And it was in honor of my book. So I wrote a best-selling book called Unmute Yourself and Speak Up to Stand Out. That is my signature keynote. That is what I call the podcast. And we have since rebranded. So when you hear me talking about the book, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, this topic about your personal board of directors, it's in the book. And it was feeling a little stale to me, and it no longer feels stale because I have a new spin on it, which I'm going to talk about next week. For this week, I want to talk to you about, this is so cool because many of you either sent me photos of yourselves making your summer bucket list, which we talked about last week. If you missed that, it was a quickie. I think it was like a 22-minute episode where I talk about how to make your summer bucket list, why to make your summer bucket list. And it's a really cool episode and you all loved it. So some of you sent me photos. Some of you invited me to some of your summer bucket list events, which is so cool. The other day, I was thinking about a situation that happened to me and I wrote it down and I'm like, okay, maybe this should be a future podcast episode. And then I thought about the timing, and the topic is living your values, or really how to prioritize your values when you have conflicting demands on your time or your resources. We'll get into that in a second. So I thought that would be a really good follow-up podcast episode to your summer bucket list, because the bucket list helps you prioritize things. And this idea of living your values, this is going to help you prioritize when you have multiple demands on your time. All right, let's just get into it. Welcome to the Thrive Hive podcast, the place where success meets reinvention and nothing, I mean nothing, is off limits. I'm your host, Nancy Medoff, speaker, coach, best-selling author, and former corporate VP who knows firsthand what it means to leave a wildly successful career behind, to build a dream business and life, then blow it all up again when it's simply no longer enough. Here, we don't wait for permission to feel free. We talk about reinvention, aligned ambition, managing our energy, boundaries, and the power of surrounding yourself with the right women. This is not a networking group. It's not a therapy session. This is a space for elevated, honest conversations about business, life, and what it really means to thrive. So if you're ready to stop carrying it alone, ready to connect with women who get you, and ready to design what's next with clarity and confidence, come on in. This is your space. This is your time. Welcome to the Hive. How to prioritize what's most important to you. This is based on your value system, or I like to call it your value buckets. So hopefully, or maybe, probably, many of you in or around January, as part of your New Year's resolutions or your New Year's outlook or your New Year's whatever, thought about, okay, what are my resolutions? What are my priorities? What do I want to do? So for me in January, or maybe even a little bit before then, and also around my birthday in July, but we'll talk about that in July, I think about, okay, what are my values? How do I want to live my year? Who do I want to be? What do I want to put the most emphasis on? And when you have competing demands on your time, and I'm going to give you a real life example in a minute, you can go back to those values. And if it's not in one of those buckets, so I call it a bucket, if it does not fall within one of those categories or buckets, then it's easier to either postpone it or not focus on it at that moment. This is a forensic way to prioritize your time and resources. And I'm using the word forensic on purpose. It is detailed, it is precise, it is unemotional, and it's awesome. It's a time saver and a no-brainer. All right, so let me give you the example. Okay. My priorities for 2025 were and are, I have a few. This was during I forget what it's called, but it's the Michael Hyatt planner. They have a wellness planner. I forget what it's called, but anyway, I can't remember the name of the planner. Anyway, was on this planner kick. I didn't do it for very long. It wasn't about the planner, it was about me. I love his concepts. Anyway, physical health was one, mental health was another. This is for me. Money, and when I say money, what I mean is organizing things like formalizing my proxy, I just forgot what it's called, formalizing my executor or whatever, really looking at retirement planning and just having all of the systems in place. It wasn't necessarily about making money, it was about paying attention to money and my future. The fourth one was my work or my business. Number 5 was friendships. And this was a priority for me, friendships, nurturing friendships. Community was another one of those. My honey was the second to last, just in terms of how he is not second to last, he's first. And really, my relationship with my partner. And then finally, my own growth, my own personal growth. So it sounds like a lot, I think, as I'm saying it, but it's really not. If you're looking at the space of a year, this is what is important to me. This is what I want to focus on. And it doesn't mean, so for example, for physical health, it doesn't mean I'm going to go out and run a marathon. It means that I'm going to recommit to prioritizing my nutrition and health. Okay, that's all. I wanted to lower my cholesterol. I want to build muscle. I want more movement. I want more balance, physical balance, more flexibility. I have a recurring bad back problem. And this can all be avoided if I make this physical health a priority. And here's a spoiler alert for you younger Thrivesters. When you get older, you can't get away with what you used to get away with. And I know for those of you who are, let's say, 40 and above, you can't get away with what you used to get away with in terms of, you can't exercise and then not stretch afterwards and everything's going to be fine. If I go out and let's say I lift weights or I'm doing squats, if I don't balance that with at least 10 or 15 minutes of stretching or yoga, I won't be able to move. I won't be able to walk. So your body catches up with you eventually. Hate to be the one to break this to you. I'm just saying. Anyway, so mental health, recommitting to my daily routines and rituals that make me feel good and grounded. Told you about money. I'm not going to get into all of them. Anyway, so I digressed. Those are my value buckets. And frankly, honestly, I haven't looked at them since January until just now when I was getting ready for this podcast. I'm looking down for those of you who are watching me on YouTube. I have I'm going to show you. Look how cool this is. Well, might be a little frenetic to you. Those are my value buckets. And then the little stickies are little things that I can do to live these values. Anyway, that's not what this podcast episode is about. This podcast episode is about how to use these to prioritize. So last week, I think on a Friday, I had an 8 a.m., an 11 a.m., a 12 p.m., and a 3 p.m. I don't know how that happened. When I was in the corporate space, I was leading a virtual team. And I used to have literally back to back on the hour every hour. I would have an 8, a 9, a 10, an 11, a 12, a 1, a 2, and a 3. And I vowed when I left that world to never live like that again. So I don't know how this happened. And that's not that bad. 4 calls in one day. For most of you, probably isn't that bad. For me, that's not how, I can't. I don't want to. It's too frenetic for me. I'm sure if that is a no-brainer to you and doable to you, that's great. For me, I need more time to focus on my work and projects and stuff like that. Anyway, so I had these 4 appointments or calls and something had to go. The 8 o'clock was with a friend and the 3 o'clock was with a friend. And I remembered that nurturing these friendships and these relationships, and these were new friends or our new friends, that this was a priority. So that became a no-brainer. Those stayed. I'm like, okay, you're going to do the 8 and the 11. Let's look at the 11 and 12 and figure out can we move those? And I was able to make the decision with confidence and conviction. And it was a split-second decision. I said, okay, well, friendships, that's part of your values and you committed to this. So those are staying. Move the 11 and the 12 or do whatever you have to do. The reason why I'm bringing it up again is because that was just the decision on my time. Let's play this out a little bit, because when we talk about resources, we're talking about time, we're talking about energy, we're talking about money, maybe. We're talking about goodwill, whatever resource you're talking about. If it does not fall into one of these buckets, you can feel okay with deprioritizing it within reason. And, of course, life gets in the way. It could be something with your kids. It could be something that you didn't anticipate. I get all that. This to me is how you really, really live these values. The other piece of that is it helps you kind of take a step back, take a breath, and walk away from the I'm so busy energy or the busy energy or the burnout energy. And a friend of mine was talking about this the other day. And I said, I feel like burnout is becoming the new I'm so busy. It used to be a badge of honor for many people to say, "Oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I don't even have time to do this, that, that." And I understand that many of us are very busy, but it was almost like a badge of honor. I feel like we're heading in that direction with burnout. My instincts are saying that burnout is becoming the new busy badge of honor. I'm burnt out. Anyway, and here at the Thrive Hive, we don't like burnout and we certainly don't wear it as a badge of honor. So the reason I'm telling you this is because when you use this approach to how to prioritize your resources, whatever those may be, you can step away from that. I just have to get through this week. And I'm bringing up that expression on purpose because I have heard more than one person say this in the past couple weeks. My good friends, I just need to get through this meeting or I just need to get through, whatever the case may be. And I get that. And I'm going to ask you to be careful about the words you're choosing. And we've talked about this before too on the podcast. Do you want to live a life where you're just getting through this week until you get to the next week? Or could it be right now, my priority is the conference coming up? I'll have time for that after the conference is over. That this is a very different feeling. It's a different vibe. It's a different way to approach it. Or let's say you have a really busy summer coming up, which many of us do. I just got to get through summer. And then in the fall, I'll be able to focus on whatever it is you want to focus on. Who wants to get through summer? That's no way to live. If you're living your values, you can turn that conversation in a different direction. And right now, my priority is this, right? Because this is probably one of your values if it's something that you're focused that much on. And anything else is going to have to wait. I'm going to give you a real life example. So I never knew I did this until probably like a year ago. When I have a big speaking gig coming up, I get really focused on that speaking gig. And my keynote it's pretty straightforward. I adapt it and I adjust it for different audiences, but it's pretty much very well baked. I did not know how focused I was on that and how everything kind of took a back seat until I noticed this behavior. And it was like, the laundry would be piled from the floor to the ceiling. And then the day after that gig, it would all get sorted and put away. I was tunnel vision, blinders, whatever you want to call it, on the speaking gig because that was my priority. And that was me living my values that, I'm focusing on this. Everything else is going to take a back seat until I'm ready to go back to it. And it kind of gave me a pass because it was me giving myself a pass because I could let other things go because I acknowledged and admitted that this is simply not a priority. It doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't make me a slob, doesn't make me a bad wife, doesn't make me a bad whatever. It's right now I'm focused on this. I will get to this. It will happen. This is the priority. And you kind of give yourself a pass, giving yourself some grace. So I kind of was all over the place. I called myself a squirrel this morning, and I think I lived that description. And what I mean by squirrel is like I was over there, and then I was over there, and I was gathering nuts, and then I was jumping across trees. So I took a roundabout way to get here. And the message is if it is not one of your core values or in that bucket, it is okay to put it on the back burner. And if you think about what's important, and if you haven't done this yet, it's not too late. You can sit down any day you want and decide how you want to live your life. Oh, one more thing before I leave. You can do this with your work. And because there is always, I would imagine, competing demands on your time at work, always. Something I did recently is I said, okay, these are my 3 big priorities at work. Okay, this is not necessarily my life. This is at work or in this job or in this role. It is A, it is B, it is C. And there everybody wants something from you at work at all times, and you can't do everything, and you can't be everything to all people. So one of the ways that I dealt with this was I said, okay, these are my three priorities. If it's not within one of those three priority buckets, I can't give it the attention right away, or I can't take it on until I finish the other things that are part of these three buckets. And it was really helpful. And it is real. I still do it to this day because someone else can do it. I don't have to do it. So if it's something that's not within these three priorities, and I'm in a position where I can say, you know what, I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. I can get to it maybe in a couple weeks. I can get to it, whatever. And if somebody really needs it, they'll go to someone else or someone else can help them. So this works at work as well. Okay, Thrivesters. I've been like all over the place, jumping from tree to tree. I'm going to wind down here and tell you, in summary, one of the easiest ways to manage competing demands on your time or your energy or any other resource that's important to you is to think about your values. And if this ask is not part of how you want to live, you can deprioritize it. I'm not saying you blow it off. I'm saying you deprioritize it. So back to the summer bucket list to bring this full circle. You have this bucket list, hopefully. And by the way, if you didn't listen to it yet, it's not too late. You can do it now. You can download. I gave you a little template. And when you make this bucket list, because all kinds of things are going to pop up over the summer, and hopefully they're fun things. This bucket list, these are things that were important to you. And they were important to you at the time when you were in the right mindset to really think about what was important to you. So that bucket list, you could kind of equate to your values for the summer if you wanted to, or your priorities for the summer. And then if something comes up, if it's not one of those, gets backburnered. With that, my Thrivesters, that's it for today. And I'm excited for the podcast episodes coming up. We have an all-star cast coming up. We have all different buckets in these different priorities. We're going to talk about burnout and managing your adrenals. We're going to talk about wellness. We're going to be talking about curbing habits that don't serve you. We're going to be talking about fitness as you age. We have great topics coming up. So I am going to leave you with that, Podsters. And until then, peace out and go thrive like you mean it. That's a wrap, Podsters. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Thrive Hive podcast. Hopefully, after listening today, you're feeling a little more fired up, a little inspired, or maybe a little more like yourself and like the person that you know you're meant to be. And if you loved today's episode, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, tag me. I love to see where and when our Thrive Hive is growing. And if you're thinking about someone who you think should really listen to this episode, send it her way, because we all deserve to go out and live that life we work so hard to build. Now, go thrive like you mean it.